Yay! Welcome to the weekly team call. I'm really excited to have Kate on again. I know that we've heard from her like a million times already, but I feel like we can never get enough of her knowledge on social media and her story. And I just love her personality and no BS type of, vibe. That's totally our tribe. So I'm just going to hand it right over to you right now.
Yay! I'm so excited to be on your guys' team call. I love Candace to death. We met, I feel like it was close to 3 years ago when you came to Portland for Super Saturday.
Yeah, and then again at the very first summit in Nashville that I ever went to.
Yeah, and then I've seen you like on trips and stuff. Like we always see each other in passing. Passing ships. Okay, so I have a few things that Candace and I kind of talked about that I was going to go over with you guys, but everybody has been on the training where basically I talk about Instagram, right? That's a consensus kind of sort of. So I will start with a little bit of social media, Instagram 101 things just to like cover some like pulling your head out of your ass tips and daily must-dos for myself and what my day looks like. Okay, so social media. And Candace has heard this, but I know she likes this analogy. And I like to think about it as your social media is your storefront. And your inviting is like behind the counter stuff. I feel like, Candace, you've heard me say that now on like 3 It works. I was in retail for years before I did coaching, so that's why I like the storefront analogy, because that's somebody's first impression of you. And the thing about this is it has to match up. Your storefront has to match up with your inviting, so we're going to get to that. But like, it's important to have a cohesive message. So when somebody looks at your social media within the first 30 seconds, hopefully they can tell you're a coach. I don't know about you. I like to brand myself away from just Beachbody because we know sometimes people have a bad experience or sometimes just see coach because there's so many other MLMs out there say Beachbody coach. They think that they're going to be sold to. And people don't want that because what we're selling, we're not selling the products, we're selling ourselves. So besides coaching, like who are you? What makes you you? I always like to think like what's 3 things besides fitness and coaching that makes you you? For me, I'm a cat lady. Like I'm a crazy cat lady. If you follow me, you see a lot of my cats. I am super outdoorsy and I'm paleo. Those are my 3 things that when you go to my page, you will see on my feed consistently besides fitness. So this also goes into your brand. But it's important to know because that's how you know who you're talking to. Because you don't want to try to reach everybody because you'll reach no one. And you guys have Candace who is amazing at sharing her story so authentically. And that's what you guys need to do, obviously, because if you're not sharing your story, nobody else is going to hear it. And that's how you need to attract your people. And that goes back to the whole storefront thing, because if the biggest thing that I hear from coaches, or they'll talk to me and I'm totally honest. When somebody asks me about their social media and if they're about their inviting, I ask for both. I want to see conversations that they're having and I want to see what their social media looks like. And a lot of the times they're not actually doing invites, which I'm going to get to in a second, because they're like posting on their social media and they're like, that's my inviting, reality check. And social media invites, like that's a soft invite. Even like a transformation, I consider when you're posting a transformation and saying, here, join my challenge group, I'm looking for 5 to 10 ladies, that is still a soft invite. That is still like the front of your store. That's your storefront. An invite is actually like behind the counter conversation. But normally if somebody's not hitting Success Club or they're not recruiting to the coaching opportunity, it's because those 2 things aren't matching up. So if you're struggling with talking about your challenge groups in real life or in your invites, are you actually posting about it enough? Are you sharing not only your story, but talking about your challenger stories, maybe sharing it not only in your posts, but one thing that I just did tonight was I talked about it in my Instagram stories too. The cool thing is for me, what I've noticed now, personally, I get less traction on other people's transformations on Instagram, not necessarily on Facebook, just on Instagram. And so what I'll do is I can share them in my story and I can talk about them in my posts. Like I reiterate a lot of stuff. But it's still adding value, even if I've already talked about something on my post, or if I feel like I want to talk about something, but I don't want to make a post about it. That's what Instagram stories are. They're kind of like other ways to jab and add that value. So you want to make sure that those two things are adding up. The same with coaching. If you're struggling with talking about coaching, or if you're struggling with getting people in your sneak peeks or getting people on your team, are you talking about coaching enough on your social media? Like, are you talking about it at least 4 to 5 times a week? Are you sneaking it in? Are you talking about how awesome your coaches are, how awesome the team that you're a part of is? Because you have to get excited about it. If you want people to do something with you, you have to show people through your social media that you're excited about it. Because if you're super stoked up on your invites, but they're not seeing that, that's the first thing that they're going to go to. When you're sending those invites, they're going to look because they want to make sure you're doing it too. And that you actually have passion and that you have energy behind it. And because that is what's going to build belief. That is what's going to build trust with those people. But you have to be excited, because if you're not excited about it, how do you expect other people to be excited with you or be willing to do it with you? But they're not going to do something that you're not doing yourself. So you want to make sure that you're at least sharing 3 to 4 times a day on Instagram, Facebook. Like, that's common knowledge, I'm sure, for you guys. One thing that, of course, you want to make sure, like I said, you have a cohesive message so you know what your brand is. Because remember, you're trying to reach your people, your tribe. You're not trying to reach everybody. One thing recently that, like, I spoke on to, I don't know what team call it was or who I was talking to, actually. It could have just been somebody I was talking to about it. But somebody said, like, do you upset people in your life because of all that you share on your social media? And the answer is yes, all the time. I upset my mom, I upset my dad, I upset my brother, my sister. Dylan really just doesn't care anymore. Like, he knows I'm going to share everything. But, like, the reality is, like, my mom will say things like, I wish you didn't swear on your social media. Then I could share your post with our family. And I was like, Mom, I'm friends with most of our family on Facebook, but they don't really I don't care if they like my stuff or not. Those aren't the people that I'm trying to reach. Like, you have to remember, like, stop trying to be a people pleaser with your social media. Your social media is your storefront. Your social media is the first thing somebody's going to see and the reason they're going to connect with you. And so, like, if you talk a certain way in real life, make sure you're talking like that on your social media. Like, don't censor yourself if you're afraid of other people. You could just unfriend them, block them if you're really that concerned about it. Or if people say negative stuff about your social media, like, just block them or delete them. Honestly, the biggest tip for me that I like, the way that I live by with my social media, I assume nobody sees it. I assume nobody sees my Instagram posts. Nobody sees my stories. Nobody sees my Snapchat or Facebook. I don't ever worry about annoying someone or offending someone because I just assume nobody sees it. And it actually makes for really funny conversations because people are like, what? Like, no, of course, you share all your life. Of course, I saw you posted about it. And I'm like, oh, well, you can unfollow me if I'm annoying. Like, I don't care. You're not who I'm trying to reach. I'm trying to reach my people. So please don't censor yourself because that only hinders your business. So here's the thing, like, pictures do matter. Photo quality does matter. When you are posting, obviously you want to have bright, attractive, pretty photos, scroll stopping photos. Like, when you're scrolling on somebody's feed, are you actually stopping? Like, think about it. If you're willing to kind of like kick your own ass with your social media, if you post a picture of just your Shakeology or just a picture of, like, I don't even know, just something. Like, I saw one of my coaches today did it, just a picture of her markers on her carpet. And I was like, I don't think that's pretty. Like, I don't think that's cute. I stopped it because I'm aware because it's my coach. But I told her, I was like, you could find a cuter way to post this. And that wasn't being mean because my coaches know total honesty. And she's on my cup team. I was like, dude, I love you to death. I'm not trying to be a bitch. But you could have made this cuter. Like, you could have made it more scroll stopping, like what's going to get somebody's attention, whether it's better lighting, making sure the photo's cleared and not like over edited or over saturated. Like you want your photos to be bright, eye catching. People want to see your face. And you, like I said, you have Candace. She's awesome because she's like me. You see our faces all the time on our social media, but that's what people want. So the next thing that I want to get to is, because I use my post, whether it be on Instagram or on Facebook or both, to invite. Like I said, inviting, like your posts don't count as your invites for the day. I lived that way for a really long time, and I realized I wasn't hitting the numbers that I wanted to hit, and it was my ego. Because I had some weird thing holding me back about sending that invite. I'm an extroverted introvert, a lot like Candace. Like I love people, but I get freaked out sometimes and I have anxiety and I overthink everything. And that's why I loved Haley's like gangster rap connections, like don't be a bitch, hit send, because I'm always the person overthinking everything. And so for a really long time in my business, I was like, well, I'm posting about it. Like people, if they want, they'll like, those are my invites. That's not an invite. Friending somebody on Facebook isn't an invite. That's not a conversation starter. If you're starting a conversation with someone asking, hi, how are you? That is not an invite. An invite is sending a message that is asking them to A, join your team, or B, join your challenge group. And you have to be sending those invites every single day. That is one of my musts. That is one of my like things that I do every single day. And I do it based on my posts because I know we've heard the whole cold messaging thing. And this is why I didn't like it. Like I had this weird fear about being like all the other skeezy MLM people. Like just yesterday this morning, I had somebody reach out to me about Juice Plus or something. And I was like, I'm not, if you looked at my page, if you actually looked at it, you realize I'm a Beachbody coach and you wouldn't be inviting me. They're like, no, that's why I invited you. I already said I wasn't interested and they kept pushing. And I was like, just block, bye. But like, I always had this fear that inviting people, that's what I would be. But then I realized I was keeping their destiny in my mouth. I was being a disservice to myself, my business, and to other people because I know how much this changed every area of my life and it could change theirs too. So how I get around the whole idea of it being cold messaging is I invite the people who like and comment on my post. Whether they like it, on Instagram or on Facebook, you can go through that list and you can send that invite. And I'm like, hey girl, thanks so much for supporting my last post. I wanted to reach out. Or hey girl, thanks. Or it's normally like, hey girl, how are you? Hope you're having a great week. I just wanted to reach out because I saw you liked my last post about my upcoming summer shift challenge group. I'm not sure if you were liking because you're interested or just that you wanted to share support, but I always do better with a rad group of ladies and I would love to work with you. So if you're interested, let me know. I hope you're having a great week. Talk soon. And it's like a lot better than that. I have no idea what I just came out of my mouth. So I'll send Candace like what I said. I was like struggling right there. It sounds way cuter than that. It's like, hey girl, but I send those. And so I'll go through people's Instagrams. I go through people's Facebook because obviously we don't want to be one of those asshole MLM people who invite other people who are doing things that are either A, Beachbody and they're working with another coach, or B, another MLM. Like, I'm not trying to invite those people. Those aren't the people who I want to work with. But I also feel like I have rapport with them because they're liking on my photos. They are liking on my stuff. They're seeing it. Whether they're just scrolling and they like it, whether they are interested. A lot of the times I hear, oh my gosh, thank you so much. I look at your stuff for inspiration every day and I've always wanted to like learn more, but I'm nervous. You have to remember that people get freaked out. Like it's not their job to reach out to people like it is ours. So don't be afraid. Like think about it from their perspective. Like they're really timid. I know I took months before I reached out to my coach, Amy Silverman, on Instagram. I literally think I stalked her for like 8 months and I was going to send that email so many times and then I didn't because I was so terrified. So you have to remember when you're messaging people a lot of the times, like that's the case. They could be watching you. They could be wanting to join you, but they need that invitation. They need that little pat on the back. They need the validation. And that's what social media is. The whole reason why people have social media is to connect with other people because people want attention. So I like to make sure that A, they're not a coach, or B, working with a coach, and then I shoot that invite. If somebody's stuff is private, I'll send it. I have invited other coaches, but that's not my fault. Or people be like, oh, I'm actually on a coach, or I'm actually a coach. And I look at their social media, I'm like, I couldn't tell that you're a coach, so that's not my bad. All right, and I'll just say, or like, hey, I'm actually working with another coach doing this program, but I found you through blah, blah, blah. And then I'm like, great, well, keep kicking ass. Like, I'm not trying to continue the conversation. But then, so what I do is I will sometimes, and it's a numbers game, like I like to send out at least 20 of those invites. So I also do it not just on my challenge group, like saying like a before and after where I talk about it, but if I at all talk about my challenge group or at all talk about coaching, I use that as an open window. It does not have to be a before and after. It does not have to say I'm looking for people to join me. Feel like you're just pumping up your challenge group. You're like hyping it up in your post. And then you're like, are you in this time? Are you coming with? And then the people who like that, that is a way to invite. Like, it's always about doing those jabs. It doesn't always have to be that right hook. Gary Vaynerchuk, jab, 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 right hook. Like that leaves an open window for you to invite. And it's a numbers game. So I invite like 20 people. I maybe hear back from like 10, maybe 4 of them are already working with a coach. Like, it's a numbers thing. And then what I do is if they say, yeah, I'm interested, I'm like, hey girl, perfect. Are you on Facebook? So stoked to hear back from you. Excited to talk to you about your goals. And then when I find them on Facebook, I just start taking them through the scripts just like I would anybody else, anybody who reaches out to me. But I change it. But I'm instead of saying, so stoked you reached out, I'm like, I'm so glad I get to chat with you about your goals. Like, it just changes little by little, but I'm still in control of the conversation. Sometimes I know people think that when they are reaching out and inviting, that they are still like they lose control because they're handing the control by asking the question. Remember, you're the coach, you're the one in control of the conversation. So if they're asking you about the price right away, they're like, yeah, but does this cost money? You're like, here, let me get you all the details. We can see if this sounds good to you, and I'll get you all the rest of the information, cost, etc. Excited to talk to you more. Like, you can always redirect the conversation, but make sure you have control because you want to make sure you're adding value to what you're saying. Also, when you're adding them on Facebook, I don't know, email lately has had a lot lower response rate for me. So I'm trying to get people over to Facebook also because I know they'll just see my stuff more. And if you struggle with interaction, briefly, I can talk on, if you want me to, Candace, the whole CC, my whole like commenting thing on Instagram, or I was just going to say, make sure on Facebook, like, you're liking and commenting on your friends' stuff. You're adding new people so they're liking your stuff.
Yeah, that one's most important, because I find that a lot of us on this team, we have really badass posts and they get no engagement. And I know that's lack of connecting and reaching out and talking on other people's shit. Because for like the first 2 years of my business, 80 or 90% of my business-based activities was spent connecting. Mm-hmm. So how often do you do that? Or what do you do each day for that?
So I do that every day. I make sure that is a non-negotiable, especially with Facebook. Like, I don't get the kind of interaction Candace gets unless I post about my cats or sometimes about Dylan. Like, people on Facebook don't care that much about my life. Or sometimes if I have lipstick in a photo. Like, it's very strange. What works on Instagram for me does not necessarily work on Facebook for me. And I do share a lot of the same things. Like, I know people are like, I'm worried everybody is going to get offended or going to be annoyed because I post the same things. Reality check, they don't give a fuck. Like, they don't see everything with the algorithms on. I'm sorry, I see a baby. I'm like, but like, reality check, like, they won't see everything because of the algorithms. They probably won't see your post twice. Even when I see other people's stuff twice, I don't care. And I see people who are coaches, not coaches, post the same thing on Instagram and to Facebook. Like, you just have to get out of your head and don't be afraid to like shut yourself off. So make sure you're connecting with new people, especially on Facebook, like working on your engagement, going through and adding 5 to 10 new people a day. I go through friends of friends too, and old high school people. And what I'll do is if I have more than 10 mutual friends with them, I add them, I request them. And make sure that you're liking and commenting. And what you can actually do too, and what I do, you can actually create like an interest group on your Facebook, and you can put all of your new friends, like, I'll say, I can't remember exactly how to do it off the top of my head. But if you are on like the left-hand column, and it'll say interest, and you can create like a group that only you can see of your friends, and it shows their feed. Like, so you can do like, I do August new friends. And so I have them in a list in one area. So I'm not just scrolling through my Facebook feed because, you know, we all see coaches, we all see other shit. That's not business building. That's bullshit building. That's when you say you're working your business. You're like, yeah, I'm scrolling on Facebook, I'm scrolling on Instagram, and you're not doing anything. No. So you can add your new friends to an interest group so you can see just their feed and what they're posting, so you can like and comment and have an opportunity to start a new conversation. But yeah, just the algorithm, and honestly, just like human basics. Like, if you're liking on somebody's stuff, they're going to be like, who the heck is this chick? Like, she requested me. Maybe you sent a message saying, hey, thanks for accepting my friend request. But they're going to be curious because you're loving on all their stuff. And that is what people want. People have social media to get attention. It's your job to give them attention. It is literally your job to love on people. So get like hyped about that, because that just gives you an opportunity to share about what we're doing. And then on Instagram for that, I know I did this in Dream Corp. So I guess I'm sure everybody in here is in that page too, right? Probably. So, I mean, you guys could watch that full Instagram training, but I'll tell you like the work that basically goes into growing your Instagram and really going and like loving on people is going through the hashtags that you use, going through the location. I always say tag yourself in a location. Like, even if I'm literally, if you look at my last post on Instagram, it's me, and what people don't realize, there's a brown like door behind me. It's literally my door. It's my front door. I stand on my front porch, my door behind me, and I take a selfie with my food because it has better lighting. And my neighbors sometimes look at me like I'm crazy because right now I have workout shorts on and a cute top, and that's like what I took a picture in. So sometimes people see me and think I'm crazy because I have my screen door propped open. I'm taking a photo of my food, but it has better lighting, and I know that people will stop for that. But in that photo, I tagged myself in Portland. I live in Portland, but I live in like Southwest. And so don't get weirded out about people like knowing exactly where you live. Like, add the location, because what you're going to do is you're going to go through the location that you tagged yourself in, whether it's a dog park, whether it is a coffee shop, whether it's a restaurant, whether it's a hike, whether it is the city that you live in. And you're going to go through the location, and you're going to go through the hashtags that you use that fit your brand. And you're going to go and find the people who look like you would want to work with them, or look like they would relate to you, or like these people, if you're, especially with coffee shops and hikes, like those are people that you already have rapport with because you already have something in common with them. So what I do is I scroll through those hashtags that I'm using that fit my brand and fit the post. And I scroll through the locations, coffee shop, restaurant, whatever. And I look for women who look like they fit my brand between the age of like 20 and like 40. Normally, I'm not too crazy. Like, I know people relate to me more between 20 and like 35. Even just looking at my business demographic on Facebook, that's like, and on Instagram, that's the range of people who follow me. And then I go to their Facebook, or Instagram, and I like 3 to 5 photos, and I comment on 2, always asking a question or complimenting them and making sure to tag them in the comment, because we all know a lot of people do use, and like businesses even use like Instagram and those things, and people are used to seeing like, awesome, this tastes so, looks like it tastes so good, and it'll be a photo of like a sweaty selfie, and you're like, I'm not really sure where you're going with that. So people need to know that you're a real person, so tag them in the comment. Always ask a question, compliment them. But if you're doing that on like 2 photos and you're liking 3 to 5 photos, they're going to see it. That's if they're on Instagram often. They're going to see it, and they'll be like, who's this Candace chick loving on all my stuff? Oh, we went on a same hike, or we went out at the same coffee shop, or oh, I already have that in common with her. And they're more likely going to check out your posts, like your posts, comment on your stuff, follow you. It's, again, a numbers game, just like anything else. The amount of invites you send out, you know, you're not going to get all those responses. People are going to read it, and not like the same thing. Not everybody's going to follow you, but consistently, that's how I built my Instagram from like 300 followers when I started to I just hit 20,000 yesterday, which is crazy. But like, it's just spending time every day, especially making those connections, going through like 30 minutes a day. And I call it, I know a lot of people do it like CCQing, comment, compliment, question. But just like creating that interaction, because that gives you a list of people to talk to. I know a lot of people also invite based off the people who view their stories. But the idea is you can't hide behind your invites. Do not hide behind your social media. Do not hide behind your post. Do not hide behind what you are sharing, because you have to make that connection, because 80% of the people watching you are not going to do it for you. It's like 20% maybe. I think it's even smaller. It's probably like 90% of people watch you for so long. And then it's like 10% are the 10% who are going to see your post and engage with you. But remember, all those other people are watching. They may be liking, they may not. They may be commenting, they may not. But they need that invite. You have to breach that. I hate the word breach, actually. I don't like using that at all. You have to like get rid of that barrier that's there, because it's our job to get rid of that. And it's our job to share our story and share what's working with us and share this opportunity. But you can't hide behind the posts. You can't hide behind what you're sharing, even though that is such a big part of it, because it goes back to like the basics, the vital behaviors is inviting. And like, I think being a product of the product is sharing on your social media every single day that you're working out, that you're drinking Shakeology, that you are, doing personal development. You have things to talk about. You always have something. If you're doing the vital behaviors, like the vital process, you literally always have something. You always have a way to get people's attention, because it's your job to literally be the light in the world, like with your social media, because right now there is so much negativity happening. Like, it's your job to take your social media seriously, treat it like a business, and be the light. Like, even when I'm having a shitty day, I won't post about how I'm having the shittiest day ever. I'll be real. But I'm not going to be like, oh, I'm not going to bitch and complain. I hate on this day. I hate love it, because I cringe when I see my old post from Caitlin like 6 years ago. But even longer, it's bad. Literally, my motto used to be expect the worst and hope for the best. You can imagine my Facebook posts were we're not the positive person I am. And it always makes me cringe. But, you see those people. But it's your job to inspire them. It's your job to share. It's your job to be consistent. And your job to, like, break that gap. Like, get over that gap and invite them, the people who are liking, the people who are commenting. And you know what to do to get them there. Or a numbers game. The more people you like and comment on, the more likely they are to view your stuff and do the same. So, I don't know. What else? I have
a question.
Yeah.
Do you have a method or a template or some way that you write a post? Like, if you're writing a post with intention, to like invite in it, what do you have, like a method? What is like I don't know what the question I'm trying to ask, like structure that you follow when posting? Like, I know like a lot of us on this team, we have a lot of words to say. So a lot of the time we just dump out our entire feels. And then we're like, cool, now I have all these things, and it's like a journal entry, but I need to turn these words into an intentional post with meaning and value.
So I'm actually horrible, because it was very funny when we were in New Orleans, and after Summit, like the day after, there was like a leadership breakfast with Amy and some other leaders, and she was like, yeah, it takes me like 5 minutes to write a post. And I was like, dude, it can take me like 30 minutes. Or if I'm really procrastinating, you start it and then it's like 2 hours later, it actually gets posted. But like, what I like to do is what I recently started doing is I'll voice text it. If I have a thought process, I'll start voice texting it, and then I'll edit it in my notes section of my phone. I normally do things in my notes section and take it over to Instagram. But I try to think, how can I shift this into an opportunity for somebody else? What did I need to hear in order to get started? What I'm sharing something that could be something that somebody needs to hear today? And how can I say it in a way that helps them or inspires them or reaches them? Like, I try to think about it in that sense. What did I need to hear in order to get started? What did I need to hear to like get me where I am? But remember, like, I just had what's her face on my team call the other night. And I know it's not Haley. I'm like brain dead. Not what's her face. I adore her. But like she said, like inspire, like being inspiring doesn't pay your bills, or being motivational doesn't pay your bills. So you do want to have some sort of invite, be always a way to like join you, or like always a way to talk about the community and how awesome your tribe is and why you don't understand more people are doing it. But it is like, you want it. I think it's important to have your social media be like a journal entry. I'm the worst at grammar and spelling. Like, I have grammar Nazis comment on my stuff and tell me that I didn't properly like write something. But that's like just me. Like, that's, my posts come from my head. They come from my heart. They're like, I'm not that person. If you want to be grammarful, I'm not the person to follow, because I have tons of run-on sentences and everything else. But like, I think that's what people need. Like, people want to hear from your heart. They want to hear your story. They want to hear that, but always find a way to like think about how it could help somebody else. I don't know if that answers your question, or if that was like a runaround.
No, that was perfect. That was a perfect way to say it and kind of give me, and I'm sure others, a new perspective. What would you tell a coach that you have on your team that's struggling to hit Success Club? Where would you touch on first? What steps do you go through?
I ask them how many people they are talking to a day. And then on top of how many new people they're talking to a day, because it's one thing to start new conversations. We all know what forming is. We all know that it's important to build relationships. But again, that's not inviting. And you need to be able to do both. Like, if you don't have time to do it, it's because you're scrolling on Facebook, or you're wasting your time doing other things, saying you're doing business building activities when you're not. So I ask them how many people they're talking to it that day, how many times they're posting a day, if they're posting about their challenge groups. And I normally look too. I will straight up look. I'll be like, I'm going to look at what you're posting, just so you know if this is what we're talking about. And then I ask to see their invites. And a lot of the time, they're just not consistent, and they are not doing both, or they're like in their head, or they're not using scripts. I'm sure, I don't know, do you guys use scripts? I know for me, I have like challenge group scripts that Amy originally sent and that I've changed over years that I follow.
I do. I have some in the team page. I think everyone's kind of taken their own. Yeah. It saves time. And Haley actually just laid out all of hers, so I just posted that in our team page too, which was super helpful to kind of have a basis of
multiple things. I think they're important because, like, if you're not using it, you're probably gonna word vomit. I know I used to word vomit like crazy. I was that person, be like, hey, you should join my challenge group, it's $140 and there's this awesome thing called Shakeology, and people are like, hell no, bitch. But like, I don't know, like, it adds some structure. And so normally when people aren't hitting Success Club, it's because they aren't being consistent, and that is where they have to. And that's what I stress. And I like ask, it's normally like, it's you being in your head about it. And I can say that because that was me too. Like, if you're not hitting Success Club's a mindset. It's just helping 3 people. We all know 3 people, and then we can connect with 3 people on social media. Like, they have the tools to do it. And that's what I said. Like, one of my coaches today was just saying, like, I'm really struggling. Nobody is following me on social media or like on my Instagram. It's just businesses, and like, it's not people's real stuff. And I was like, well, you've watched my training. Are you doing everything that I've said every day? She's like, well, yeah. And I questioned her a little bit more. And I said, so you're CCQing every day? And she was like, oh, well, no. And I'm like, well, that's why it's not growing. And it's not me being mean, but like, it's just reality. Like, you have to get real with the work that you're putting in. If you're not getting the results that you want, it's probably because you're not doing the work, or you're not being real with yourself about what that work actually looks like. So that's what I try to reiterate to them, like, what the work looks like to hit Success Club. Like, you can't expect to talk to 3 people and those 3 people be your 3 people who are going to sign up with you.
A lot of the people on our team, we do struggle with the getting in our head thing a lot. So that was good to hear that you pointed that out, for sure.
Yeah. And I mean, that's what I struggled with. So I'm so easy at talking myself in and out of stuff. Like, I'm so good at that. So I have to like give myself a reality check. Or as Amy used to say, and this is why I said at the beginning of the call, like, pull your head out of your ass. Like,
does anyone else have any questions or anything? I'll check the chat, but I'm pretty sure it was just me talking to myself the whole time.
That's cool.
I was like making my notes in here. This was really cool though. Like every time you talk, you mention different things in like a slightly different way that makes something else click. So I always have a list of like action items.
Yay!
I love that you said your social media is the first impression that you leave on people, basically, and that's so true. So when people come to our page, they need to know we're a coach, and they need to know we're upbeat, and they need to know we have something that they can obviously join, and that we're making shit happen over here. Yeah, let me read these real fast.
And I think like with your social media, you're either building belief or you're not. Like, and I realized today I hadn't been doing recognition on my social media, like for a couple days. And I was like, dang, like, and it was just a thing that I fell out of that habit. And so I was like, oh, I need to recognize the new coach that just joined my team. And I'm going to recognize her on my story too. And I'm going to recognize one of my coaches for hitting success starters, but I viewed it differently. She also commented on the post that she lost 17 pounds. And so I did a spin on my story about that. Like, but it is vital behavior number 4 is recognition. And that is the easiest way to talk about the opportunity and to share what we have and add value is through that. And for some reason it can be hard when really it's the best part of our job, because in real life, like, and not that our job isn't real life, but like in 9 to 5, what people consider real jobs, which always pisses me off, like you don't get recognition for that.
No, I love that you just said that, because I think that was an area, opportunity area for growth or whatever for me, is learning how to recognize publicly. I know it's easy. So do you use your own photos? Do you use photos of them? Use your own photos, talk about it in your post, right?
Yeah. So I realize when I used to like post like new coach on my Instagram or stuff like that, like that got no traction. That doesn't work for me. Like it may work for other coaches or other people. And lately, sometimes if somebody has a major transformation, like I know every transformation is major, whether it's mental or physical, but like I find a different way to talk about it, because remember, it has to be eye catching, to get people's attention.
But I want to say thank you before it cuts you off. I really appreciate you coming on here. I know everybody appreciates all the information. I took a shit ton of notes, so thank you.
And I can always talk more. I can always come back.
I know. I would love that. I would love that again. We'll schedule again, and I want to talk for your team too.
Yeah, I want to have you on.
Okay, bye everybody. Good night. Thank you. I don't know how to stop it.